Hi everybody, it's Dr. Magnifico from Jerry'sFullVet.com. This is Henry. We just talked about Henry before with the classical signs of a cat with diabetes. So if you want to see that video, it's on the list. His blood sugar today came in at 531, so he certainly qualifies as a diabetic. And we also checked his urine, and he's got sugar in his urine, so he meets the criteria. So we are going to go over the basic instructions on how to give insulin at home. My preference for cats is Prozinc. So Prozinc comes in this little green bottle. It's made by BI. They also have their own diabetes care kit. I strongly recommend when you're first starting out with diabetes in cats that you use Prozinc and you utilize both their syringes and their insulin. This kind of insulin is called U40, so you have to make sure that your syringes match. So these are U40 insulin syringes. I'm going to open up the packet and give Henry's mom a little demo on how to give insulin at home as Henry tries to escape. So the first thing is your insulin needs to stay in the refrigerator. So I always tell people to leave your insulin and your syringes by the refrigerator. I also tell people to have a calendar by the refrigerator. So you're doing it all in one step. So here's our little calendar. And then for each day, I divide the day in half. He's getting 2 units twice a day. So it says 2 units, so 2U with a little box. So in the morning when you give the insulin, you would check off that box, and then that night you check off that box. One of my cats had diabetes when I was in vet school, and I woke my husband up in the morning to tell him that I had given Moses, my diabetic cat, his insulin. I made him repeat it back to me, and then I went off to vet school, and I called him about 4 hours later, and I said, "So honey, what's going on?" He said, "Oh, I just gave Moses his insulin." And I said, "Get that cat in the car and come down." I was working, of course, in the ICU at vet school, how appropriate. But the one thing you don't want to do is double dose your insulin. So just make sure one person is in charge, and then after you do it, you check it off.
Okay.
I tell people to leave everything by the refrigerator because your insulin needs to stay in the refrigerator. This bottle is not cheap. The good news is it'll last you a while, but you don't want to leave it out all day because then it will go bad. So you would take your bottle of insulin out of the refrigerator. The first thing that you do is I always turn it upside down and you just roll it between your hands. Because it's a milky liquid, you have to kind of mix it up. You don't want to shake it because that will destroy it. You just want to roll it gently to mix it up.
Okay.
So that's the first thing that you do. You roll it gently, and then you take out one of your insulin syringes. It always comes with lots of plastic. I don't know why. But you take the bottom cap off, and then this is your plunger.
Yep.
He is going to get 2 units. So 2 units is that black line at 2. See where it says 2? So that's 2 units.
Yep.
So I always tell people to test the plunger, make sure it's working. Yep. And then the next thing to do is take the cap off. You don't want to stick yourself so it's clean. Take it off. We are not going to practice with the insulin. We're going to practice with sterile saline so that you can get a couple practice shots.
Did you already give it?
I didn't. No, we're just going to do some practice shots, and then before we leave, just for the video, we'll do the real one. But this will give you some way to practice. So this is just sterile water. The way that I tell people to do it is you're holding your dominant hand, you hold the needle, and then the other one is your bottle. So I'm holding upside down. I'm putting the needle into the center of it. So you pierce it all the way in, it should stay by itself, and then you pull down on the plunger past where you want to be. So he's 2 units. So pull down past where you want to be, and then pull the plunger back up to 2, and that's your dose. Okay, put this back in the refrigerator. You know, some people will recap. You have to be careful recapping because that's how you bend the needle or how you stick yourself. So I typically don't. But put your insulin back, and then go find your kitty. So your cat's in the other room. The thing that's really important to remember is that the insulin has to go along with the food. So you want to put the food down. They have to at least eat 3/4 of the food before you give the insulin. The worst thing that you can do is give insulin to a cat that hasn't eaten because it won't work. So the insulin needs to attach onto the meal to drive it into the cell. That's what happens with cats with diabetes. They don't have the insulin to grab the excess sugar to drive it into the cell. So you never give insulin to a cat that hasn't eaten. If it means you have to wait an hour, that's fine. If they don't eat at all, don't give your insulin.
You can keep the syringe in the refrigerator.
Yeah, you can keep it in the refrigerator. The thing you have to remember is that it's not going to reconstitute again. So if it's sitting for longer,
So feed first.
Yep. And then go
the
get
cat's eating. Go get your.
Correct. Yep.
Get it set up. Okay.
Yep. So then once they've eaten at least 3/4, I say, of their meal, it's time to give your insulin. So the easiest way that I say to do it, and I'm gonna have you come in close for this, is you push the hair back so you can see the skin, okay? And then you pull it up. So I'm pulling up on this hair,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not pulling the skin, I'm pulling up on the hair, but I can see where I'm at. And it makes this nice little tent. Okay? So push back on the hair so you can see the skin,
Mm-hmm.
and then pull up. And that's making a tent. Okay? Yep, and then you take your cap off. I'll do it. So pull back, you made a nice little tent. Here's the spine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm holding it like this. I don't want to hold it like this, and I'm not holding it like that. I'm just putting it parallel to the body. I'm pushing it in. It's all right. It's all right. Push it in, and then it should stay there. This is always done calmly. You know, people always want to stick too fast, and then they want to plunge too fast, and that's where you come into trouble. So it's under the skin. I know that because it's staying in place, and then you would inject. Then you would push the plunger. You're all right.
It's done.
And it's done.
Good job, Henry.
I always,
Good job,
I always make it relaxing. I always give a little head rub. You know, we're always telling people to do it in between the shoulders, but really you should be trying to change.
Different places.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
keep doing the same
Don't keep doing it in the
place.
same place. Okay? And then just, throw away your syringe. Most of these kits have a thing in the top that you can put your empties. And then and you can bring it back to us and we dispose of it. But that's it. And then you just go to your calendar and check off that you gave your two units.
Okay, so I'll do his real 2 units at home with food, after food.
Yeah, we'll do, right at, we can, if you